adding more help to that offense?
They continue to add more weapons. Christian Kirk becomes the latest wide receiver to catch on, and they're going to need bodies there. Listen, they're going to be moving on from Brandon Ayuk at some point this offseason, but let's keep in mind that Brandon Ayuk has no more guaranteed money due, and the 49ers are in no rush to do anything there. They'll take their time. They'll wait until they find maybe there's an offer or an opportunity out there from somebody that's willing to give up something for a immensely talented but troubled wide receiver, and we'll see how that works out. But there's no rush to move off him right now. And in the interim, they just keep replenishing the roster and finding players that they believe can help out in the 2026 season.
Yeah, Mina, I really like this. I mean, Christian Kirk has had some ups and downs at times, but he's also been clutch in key moments. He's a veteran. You've got Mike Evans already. I mean, we'll see what happens with Ricky Pearsall. When you think about how this offense is shaping up for Brock Purdy, what comes to mind?
Yeah, it feels like Christian Kirk's been in the league forever, but he's not 30. Yeah. So I would note that. Availability is a question mark. But if he is healthy, I do like the fit with the other receivers they added. Chase talked about Mike Evans, who's now the traditional X receiver in this offense. To me, Pearsall is a classic Z. And then you got Christian Kirk as the slot. You know, the Niners don't play a ton of 11 personnel. But to me, all three of those receivers do fit well together on the field. And this seems like a low-cost, low-risk signing for a San Francisco 49ers team that, as we're going to talk about, had a pretty dang good free agency.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit more here soon. Chase, when you think about just knowing that Kirk is added to what Kyle Shanahan may want to do, you heard Mina lay out where you may see him on the field, but how do you think Shanahan can maximize this?
Yeah, I mean, Mina said it perfectly. That's your starter. You got your X with Mike Evans, your Z at Pearsall, and then if they're going to play 11 personnel, you're going to put him in the slot. He's not what he once was in terms of shiftiness, but he is a possession receiver on third down. If you need a one-on-one matchup because Mike Evans is getting doubled or Ricky Pearsall is in the slot, and Kyle Shanahan moves his guys around so much. I mean, you know, he had 300 yards receiving last year. I could see something, if he's healthy, something similar to that. And you do need bodies there, right? Mike Evans, he's going to be getting double teamed, I'm sure, a lot. This frees him up on the inside in the slot alongside Kittle. I mean, you just look at that whole offense in our free agency frenzy with the draft. I don't know how the 49ers are going to be beat.
Yeah, right? It looks scary for sure, especially with a quarterback like Purdy and the way that he can be on time with these guys. All right, Mina mentioned it. We're going to talk a little bit more about the 49ers because they're still alive in our NFL free agency bracketology here. We're on theme here on NFL Live. 49ers versus Raiders for a spot in the championship. We'll see if they're able to advance. Chiefs and Steelers on the other side. When we come back, our analysts are going to tell you who had the better NFL free agency. We'll be right back. Tired, but I'm going to the house. Chase, what do you remember about watching that play for the first time?
Well, I was getting ready to go into the NFL draft, so I was training, and I just remember watching this game from home and being like, there's no way in the world he's going to score a touchdown. I mean, how do you run 101 yards? And the fact that they had him dropping in coverage, I mean, it's one of the most memorable Super Bowl plays I have ever seen. I mean, to go 100 yards and to wear the number 92, that just says enough about it. I mean, it was something that changed it. It's easily one of the most epic Super Bowl plays I've ever seen in my entire life.
Again, we're going to continue this series highlighting 61 players, part of that prestigious group that have scored a touchdown in the biggest game in the world, the Super Bowl. All right, some more news over the weekend from the New York Giants as they signed another receiver for Jackson Dart. Former Falcons player Darnell Mooney comes on a one-year, $10 million deal that adds to what looks like a pretty good group of offensive weapons piling up there in New York, okay? Mooney, just the latest addition to their reworked Elmer Fudd, excuse me, special teams and offense. The team is also signing tight end Isaiah Likely to a 3-year deal. Likely comes from Baltimore, where he played under John Harbaugh. Sticking with Baltimore pipeline, Harbaugh also brought in former Ravens fullback Patrick Ricard, 2025 first-team All-Pro punter Jordan Stout. But, Chase, when you think about offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, you spent some time with him, you're very familiar with him out of Kansas City. How do you think schematically he's going to do some things around Jackson Dart and some of these weapons that we can look out for about what this will really look like on the field next season?
Well, it's going to be a completely revamped offense. I think a lot of people out there are probably thinking, oh, you know, Andy Reid disciple, he had his chance in Chicago where he was coach of the year, talking about Matt Nagy. I think this offense is going to be specifically designed around Jackson Dart's strength. Yes, we know that he can run the football. Yes, we know that he's good with his legs, but he's extremely accurate in the short and intermediate part of the game. So I do look forward to seeing what that should be like. And I do think they're going to take some shots down the field. I mean, this is something that Andy Reid used to do, even Matt Nagy when I was with him. We like to throw the football down the field. Mooney gives them that speed threat. But the one signing I think that's not being talked about enough, in my opinion, is Isaiah Likely. Like, Isaiah Likely is going to be used in New York like Travis Kelce was in Kansas City. You design the entire offense around him. You move him everywhere. Wow. You design it around mismatches. And I think that's something that they are going to do. I mean, you get a healthy Malik Neighbors. You get Cam Scatterbo back. You get Mooney. You get Isaiah Likely. I mean, the weapons offensively for the Giants right now are really, really good.
The Kelce comp's really interesting, right? Because when you think about Kelce, like on the backside of those 3-by-1 formations, and you think about Isaiah Likely in that role, and Chase, I share your optimism about his upside as a pass-catching tight end. Imagine Malik Neighbors on the opposite side, and imagine the way that a defense is compromised. I mean, realistically, similar to Travis, Isaiah is going to get a lot of one-on-ones in those scenarios. I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. You talked about some of the, I would say, differences we're going to see in the offense because Dart's skill set is different. But you also mentioned how he's been very accurate throwing short to intermediate. That, to me, is, I think, what I'm most interested in seeing from Nagy, and in terms of seeing like the carryover from Kansas City. We know that Jackson Dart is a good RPO quarterback. Obviously, that's a big part of the offense in Kansas City. We know that he can run, I would say, some of those West Coast concepts that you saw with the Chiefs. But I am interested in seeing, okay, now that you have a quarterback who's a designed runner, now you have some athleticism in the game, how can you build that into the offense? And to me, the only piece that's really missing is, I would say, the interior of the offensive line that needs work. But otherwise, I'm in agreement with Chase. I do think they have the pieces to make this thing function.
Laura, when you look at that list of all the Giants acquisitions, it feels like it was probably the most predictable offseason that any team could have had. John Harbaugh signed a bunch of former Ravens. He signed a new punter, a new kicker, a special team standouts. He did exactly what he needed to there. And then when they lose Wan'Dale Robinson to the Tennessee Titans, they go and get the cost-effective Calvin Austin and Darnell Mooney to help replace him. I mean, Likely and Ricard coming over from Baltimore. Jason Sanders at one point was a standout kicker before he missed last year due to injury. Jordan Stout became the highest paid punter in the NFL for John Harbaugh in Baltimore. So it's special teams, it's former Ravens, and it's cost-effective players. Not hard to figure out exactly what John Harbaugh was trying to do in New York.
Yeah, love a big deal for a punter there. Adam, they also have 7 picks in this upcoming draft. We talked about the number 5 overall pick. They've got 3 picks in the 6th round via some trades. So interesting how they're done. We're going to use this to determine which teams had the best signings last week. This is our bracket. Chase, you were up first. With the 49ers versus the Patriots, which one did you like more in free agency?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you sign a future Hall of Famer in Mike Evans, to me, you got to give it to the 49ers. Sort of hard to lose when you do that. I absolutely love the Mike Evans signing. True 50-50 ball guy, but he's a veteran leader not only on the field, but off the field as well. A perfect weapon for Kyle Shanahan. I mean, give me Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall when he can stay healthy. Sign me up for that offense. They got to figure out the offensive line a little bit, but Brock Purdy, for him, is going to be a huge hit. I liked what the Pats did. Romeo Doubs, right? Kevin Byard, I think, is one of the most underrated signings in all of free agency as a ball hawk. But like I said, when you sign a future Hall of Famer, it's gotta be the 49ers.
All right, so I'm gambling a little bit here because I'm not sure our production staff trusts me to actually populate this. Oh, look at that. Okay, 49ers. They were like, you could do it while there's video on the screen. I'm like, no, let me do it on camera, people. Mina will continue here with 2 teams who spent a lot of money. Which moves did you like better, the Raiders or the Titans?
I'm going to go Raiders here because I just like these players a lot. And I like what they do for the young quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. Tyler Linderbaum, look, it's a lot of money, but I do think not only is the premium worth it because of the player, but also you have a rookie quarterback who's going to be playing under center, which he didn't do in college. You have a center coming in who's one of the best zone blocking centers in the entire NFL, but it can also set protections for him, so you're helping both the quarterback and the run game. I do think it was worth it. Naylor, an underrated addition. And then on the flip side, completely revamping your linebacker group with two former teammates, Dean and Walker, who I think have complementary skill sets. Again, big contracts being handed out, but they're being handed out to young players. So now you have a young core of the roster that can grow together around the quarterback. To me, they made the correct choices in identifying the players they needed.
By the way, this is a great reminder of what some of these teams did last week. If it's all kind of gobbledygook in your brain, we're telling you exactly what happened. Yeah. Next up, Chase, two AFC powerhouses in the Chiefs and the Bills. Which team in our bracket here did you think did better in free agency last week?
Yeah, I got to go with the Chiefs. I love the Kenneth Walker signing. Aloy Gilman played with him in LA for the Chargers, thought he was great. And then just the fact that they were able to re-sign Travis Kelce back. I know a lot was made of all the trades and stuff. And then Tonga is an absolute bulldog at nose tackle in the middle. But the prize signing, without a doubt, is Kenneth Walker. It's the first time really Brett Veach has spent a lot of money on a running back. I know Mina likes his signing as well, being a Seahawks fan. But it's just one of those things where he can help the offense out so much, not only in the run game, right, explosive threat, but when you get a Super Bowl MVP coming over, and we talked about Andy Reid drawing up plays on napkins, but he's a much better receiver out of the backfield than a lot of people give him credit for. So I do like the Chiefs here.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about Andy Reid drawing up plays on napkins. I'm excited to see what he does on a napkin for Kenneth Walker. All right, Mina, we're going to stay in the AFC with the Steelers versus the Chargers in free agency moves. Who came out on top for you last week between those two?
This one's a little closer because I do like the Chargers' moves and what it'll do for the run game in particular. But I think as a whole, I prefer the Steelers really to a lot of free agencies around the league, just because of the value and the fit of the players. Starting with Pittman Jr., who they traded for. I think he complements DK Metcalf really well as an intermediate weapon. Very good route runner, can work the middle of the field. Also complements Aaron Rodgers should he return at quarterback. I think Rico Dowdle is a complete and underrated back. Three-down back, can also catch passes. And then Jamel Dean was one of my favorite signings in free agency. Phenomenal final year in Tampa Bay. A very good man corner, so you pair him opposite Joey Porter Jr., and that gives you the flexibility with their new defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, to play more man coverage with, of course, that deep and terrifying pass rush. So I think they found a lot of really good players at good values, and I like how the total picture came together. All
right, let's bring in the king of free agency, Adam Schefter. How do we do here so far, Shefty? Give him your critique on our bracket.
Well done, Laura. Here's the one thing that's interesting about the Chargers that I think people have failed to realize. Most of the free agents that they signed were released here coming up to free agency. Therefore, the players who are released and not on expiring contracts don't count against the compensatory draft pick formula in 2027. Okay. And so the Chargers have kept alive their compensatory draft picks in 2027, which is said to be a very deep draft. So advantage San Diego in thinking ahead towards the 2027 draft. Most of the players they signed were released, and therefore they're exempt, and they don't count against that formula.
Of course, it's the former Ravens executive, right, Adam, who's playing the comp pick game and crushing it in LA. It's all, that's what they have done for so long, so well. It's a great point by you, and not surprising to see that the Chargers are doing it well too now.
Especially after the way their season ended, it's exciting to think about them getting some more support, both offensively and defensively, for Justin Herbert. All right, we're going to continue, by the way. We're going to do our final four in